Hey guys, I'm over here at Out of Spec Detailing, clear detailing here in Windsor, Colorado. And Colton, I have to use the wide lens for this one.
Yeah.
What the heck is going on here today?
Oh, just got the Hummer EV in here. Really excited to check this thing out. So we're doing a full build quality analysis on this. We are working on a rating scale. Now this is a press vehicle, so we're not going to be using our rating scale on that, but want to have some sort of a scaled system, basically 1 out of 100 points, seeing how these things are built, from paint quality to panel alignment to interior materials and build quality as well.
Yeah, we've had a lot of success with these paint quality analysis, build quality analysis videos on this channel. We want to keep that trend going. We want to develop an instrumented scale that we can rate vehicles on. One thing that I put my foot down though is we're not rating press vehicles.
Yep.
Mostly because like BMWs get pulled off the line and get looked through, so we will only be doing customer vehicles. With that said, we have a press truck in here and we'll at least share our subjective opinions about it. I've spent the last 600-700 miles driving this and have found a couple things that are truly amazing, truly not so great. And yeah, so let's go through the build quality analysis on this Hummer EV VIN 67, really early one.
Yeah, so let's just start looking around this thing. And one of the first things I noticed once we pulled it into the bay here is a little bit of panel alignment here. Kyle had mentioned this whole frunk is actually powered, so it has one mounting point up front.
Yeah, so I'll show you that right here. Generally speaking, I think just on a high level, this truck's really put together pretty well.
Yes.
I mean, very impressive, but that's also not that shocking. This was probably one of the Hummer EVs that was at the first drive event that I went to, that they had all the press, the media, the photos. Each vehicle definitely had some extra care applied to it, which isn't a bad thing. If you had a company and you were loaning vehicles out, wouldn't you make them look great?
Definitely.
So I don't have any issue with them doing that, but when we rate the vehicles, we're doing only customer deliveries. And we have customer delivery R1Ss coming up, Q4 e-trons, a whole bunch of other electric cars. You can see the front trunk space here. Again, Hummer EV, got to go wide camera, but watch how this thing closes. You'll notice like a lot of BMWs use a double latch system. Here, I think because it's powered, it only uses a single latch up front. And that means that it only has that one point to pull down the whole hood. And it means that this can move a little bit.
Yeah, and this, I was immediately feeling this and it almost felt like it wasn't latched here. I've actually seen that on, I believe, the Polestar, when the hood was a little wonky because one side would go down and then the passenger side was kind of up a little bit. So yeah, definitely seeing that here.
Yeah, but overall, I would say like the light structure here, even though it's a little bit plastic, really nice. You do get the sense of like heft with everything with the Hummer EV, and no secret, I think you and I really love this thing.
Yeah.
It's just like, I really want one. It's so cool. I have no need for it, but wow.
I'm not sure anybody does. I've spent like literally a couple miles in this, but just initial driving impressions was just like, wow, this thing is just beefy. Such a cool experience looking out this like actually really small windshield in here. And actually speaking of that, the tri-wipers on there, which is just the coolest thing ever.
Hell yeah, love the tri-wipers. So neat to drive around with it. And it's actually snowing outside right now. So I think I might try and take it up into the mountains and use that with some snow. But let's talk, just overall up front. Everything up here is just heavy, beefy, really screwed together nicely.
Yeah.
It's just insane. But let's talk paint quality on the hood really quick.
Sure.
We didn't really do a full detail on this before we brought it in here, but we can still get an idea of how much paint was laid on this, which there's something like that. The paint shop's the paint shop.
Right.
So that doesn't matter if it's a press truck or not. Should we see how much they've laid on this thing?
Definitely. So I'm going to come over here and grab the paint meter. So I want to just quickly note that I typically do readings in mils instead of microns. I just find mils, I don't know, for my brain makes a little bit more sense. In general, what I see on vehicles are 4 to 6 mils on kind of an average vehicle. Some other kind of like supercars, sports cars like that will have more paint. Think Porsche when they're around that 12 to like 15 range, depending on paint. But let's just jump in here and check this. 6.3 mils on the hood,
Wow,
which
good.
is actually quite a bit.
Wow, really consistent there. Yeah, still pretty consistent.
Yeah.
5.6 there at the
Yeah.
tip. That's a lot more paint than we've seen. We've seen as low as 2.3 on some cars, which was like really bad low.
Yeah.
And then we've seen up to 18, I think, on maybe some Porsche GT3 cars,
Yep.
stuff like that. But that's really good paint on this. Like, there's
Yeah.
room to work with it.
Yeah, that's quite a bit more. And the car you were referring to was a customer-built Lucid that came into the shop. Full video over on Out of Spec reviews on that, as well as one coming over on the detailing channel talking about how to fix that car essentially, because couldn't polish it, which was kind of crazy.
Right, that was crazy. But right off the bat, like, okay, that's a good impression here. This is nice. Now, white in general, does this have a pearlescent or a metallic flake in it, or what's your impression on that?
Let me grab my light. It seems like a very non-metallic color, kind of like your plaid here.
Right, this is my Model S here. This was such a pain in the butt for you to detail this thing, wasn't it?
It was. It
And
definitely
it sounds
was.
like we're going through that process all over again after the accident. So
Definitely.
we'll see how that goes.
Okay, so yes, it is actually a non-metallic white. And I want to note down here, so I've worked on quite a few C7, C8 Corvettes.
This is metallic.
Yes, very, very metallic. I almost wonder if this is the color code Carbon Flash, which is on those vehicles as well. Really, really pretty metallic. I like the accents on that. Basically running the entire length of the truck between the front all the way down the sides, wheel arches as well.
So this is all painted. Are these panels painted down here as well? Yeah, it looks like it.
Yeah,
Yep.
absolutely.
Wow, that thing is pretty beefy down there. Neato. And so
Definitely
when we
is.
start looking at body gaps, so we'll get into the paint on the rest of the vehicle, of course, with each panel, but body gaps are looking dead on everywhere.
They really are. A little bit here on the door, maybe the front sticking out just ever so slightly, but that's being extreme nitpicky. Everything feels really tight. Now, again, talking press vehicles, we just had R1S, did a video on this channel about it. That car did not have the best panel gaps, and it was a low VIN, pretty similar to this, I believe.
Yeah, that was 140 and this is 67, I think,
Yeah.
something like that.
So it's kind of interesting to compare that. But overall, from what we're kind of seeing and feeling, it feels pretty good.
Yeah, America, nice and bolted to the vehicle.
Yeah.
No rattle there, which is good. But we did find some bits that were rattly.
Yep.
Maybe some clips missing. So this truck, it's a press truck. It's been off-roaded. It's been to all the events. It's been to other YouTubers. I mean, the thing's had a rough life. It's got
Yeah.
2,500 miles on it now.
Yeah, definitely. This was one of the pieces back here. See if we can hear that. Very kind of plasticky sounding. And if I pop over to the other side, this sounds even worse over here. Now, you're not going to be doing this on the truck, but
Oh, it's like a drum.
yeah,
What the heck?
definitely. I'm almost wondering if this one is metal and that one's plastic from the feeling and sound of that. It sounds
Ooh.
quite different. Nope. Must
Plastic.
be a metal clip inside. So this is actually a plastic bezel that runs all the way down here as well.
Very interesting. Yeah, so, I mean, if we look at the tailgate, dead on. I mean, a couple little gap issues on the back, I would say.
That side is definitely, this side here is on the passenger slightly tighter than over here.
I agree.
But again, being very, very nitpicky, actually this is starting to come off here. Wonder if there is actually a clip missing in that.
Yeah, I actually wonder if this vehicle was involved in some sort of accident or off-roading, because I know a couple of them, when they were out at the launch with rear wheel steering, they had tail swing and bumped the rear into stuff.
Oh, wow.
And so I wonder if they had to replace these components or just knocked them where the clips are kind of out there. I wonder if that would be the case on a brand new delivered vehicle.
Yeah, I'd be curious to check that out as
Yeah,
well.
but I do remember like the damage report every day when after the first drive was like, oh, okay, they brought like spares for
Yeah.
everything.
Want to talk about this because this is, my dad actually has a 2500 AT4 with this. We always thought this was kind of a weird feature on these vehicles, but have really come to actually love this. And this feels extremely nice on the Hummer. Feels well put together. Now we can unlatch the entire tailgate here, and it feels extremely nice, I would say. Obviously back here, we don't have the tire in here right now. I think you were probably doing that for range testing, but
Yep.
this system is extremely cool. definitely losing a lot of space there.
All of your space. I mean, there is literally no room once
Yeah.
you put this thing in. Plus, just the act of getting the spare wheel and tire in and out of the bed. I mean, that's like, I don't know how much it weighs, but it's got to be almost 100 pounds. It's insane. And you know, just the tools, like you have that little toolbox right there, like it required like 6 different attachments, and it was really, I thought, not the most elegant solution.
Yeah.
So, but it looked really cool with the spare tires in the back. The full Baja mode.
I think that's the Hummer EV though, right? It's not really the most practical vehicle. It's just how cool can you make this thing look as a big truck?
Love it. Finally, we have electric cars that are just wild, and this is about the most wild EV on the planet.
This is not super heavy either, which I'm glad to see. Some of these tailgates on the newer vehicles are just getting like so heavy to throw these things up and down.
It's a lot bigger than my Rivian and a lot lighter than my Rivian to lift.
Quite a bit.
Yep.
And it sounds a lot better. Yours has been clunky for quite a bit of time.
So bad in comparison.
Yeah.
So I just want to point out, since we've kind of gone around the outside of this thing, the paint is really nice. The build quality, I would say in general, is pretty good, but I have one major issue with this thing from driving it, and that is the roof. Now, the roof is really cool because they all pop out, all of these panels. So you can have a convertible Hummer EV, which we have to do. For sure, we have to go off-roading with the roof off of this thing, and then it stores in the front trunk. But the wind noise, the little bit of rattling, it's just insane how much noise you get here. Now what's cool is the sun doesn't really let in much heat. I've been very impressed with that. But the amount of noise that you get from this roof, I'm not sure it was worth the compromise for the, I guess, extra work it is to take the roof off. I don't think many people are going to be doing it.
I'm kind of surprised. I mean, I immediately noticed that jumping in the car, even going down the road at 40 miles an hour, it was just a lot of wind noise coming through. What I'm kind of surprised about that is they've had a lot of time with, say, Corvette hoods or roofs, taking them on and off and having really good seals, because I've been in those and they are pretty dead silent as far as wind noise. But again, this is just a slab of glass and you're getting a lot of kind of buffeting through there as well.
Yep, totally agree. But let's move on to the interior really quick, where there's only, as far as we can tell, 1 negative and 1 million positives.
Yeah.
This thing inside isn't luxury. I think we should put it that way. And GMC's never been luxury. It's about utility, but it's like there is a sense of premiumness when things are rugged, because you can feel like you can just destroy it and it's going to take the abuse. And that's the impression I get here from the materials being this very cool, high texture feeling with definitely a perforated leather in the middle. I don't worry about these over time, the side bolsters bending or getting warped, because this is not a natural material. It's some sort of synthetic, almost like Gore-Tex, if you will, blend. It's really nice. Same with the white up here, should be pretty easy to clean. Perforated leather headrests though. I love the interior design. This is the moon theme, I think is what it's called. Everything is a little bit plasticky, but everything's screwed together really well. I put pressure on stuff and no creaks, no rattles. I mean, everything feels built so well. It just is like screwed together better than like most BMW interiors, which start creaking and, you know, rattling, especially Tesla stuff on the inside. This is next level.
It is. I do want to just quickly point out here, I was just sitting here looking at this. This is, again, kind of the same material as over here on the seat. Stitching is not the most kind of even stitching, that, again, being super nitpicky, but the seats look good. This doesn't look the greatest, and I've actually seen that in quite a few GM products. I know the C8 Corvettes, when they came out, had some really weird stitching on their dashboards and stuff like that. So definitely don't love that. I think that could definitely be improved. Also,
noticing that
windows.
for sure.
Really cool to have frameless windows on a door this big. I mean, it's just massive. Single pane glass on this, I believe same as on the rear as well.
Yeah, the noise performance on the highway is very poor in this. You hear tire, wind, road, everything. But it's like a Tonka truck. So
it is.
It's like, who cares?
It is. And you were talking about, actually, Alyssa brought this up. One of the negatives that you've really noticed, again, spending quite a bit of time in these, is this front floor mat. So
right, the floor mat situation is the only negative I can find to the inside. It's got great heating, great steering wheel heating. The air-conditioned seats are the loudest air-conditioned seats on the planet. It literally sounds like a jet is taking off underneath you. So that performance with noise, everything's loud with this. But the floor mats were like the actual, like, oh crap, let's rip those out. because I thought it was pretty dangerous actually. So if you take a look here, you'll see that there's a separate mat inside of the existing floor mat, which locks in with these little posts right here. These, there's no way for them to lock in, so they're just in and moving around, and so every time you get in, you're just like pushing this mat away, especially on the driver's side with the pedals. I immediately, Alyssa and I pulled this out of the truck and we ran with just that factory sort of floor liner right there, which I much prefer.
And it looks like it's actually the same back here with this as well. It just kind of slides around. I know in GM products, like I said, my dad has a AT4 2500, and it's got a carpet liner that goes in these, has little clips on there. It's really nice because you can just tear those out, and then you have kind of the all-weather mats. I would have liked to seen something a little bit more like that in Hummer EV here.
And the one thing you pointed out to me, which I guess I've seen in other trucks, but I didn't know the Hummer had it, is just these little compartments in the back seats, which I really like. I know some of the Chevy and GMC full-size pickup trucks have those as well, which is pretty neat for sure.
And they have it on both sides, which is really, really cool. I don't know exactly what you're going to store in there other than America kind of stuff.
Yeah, that's right. That's what it's for.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's right.
Back here, this all looks really nice as well. Typical kind of GM stuff, really nice. I like the feel of these, very kind of clicky, but the way to go. Everything just feels really rugged, and like you could throw your dogs in here. You could have, I don't know, go off-roading and clean this down super easy. I think that's really nice on this.
My impression is they just nailed it. Honestly, my only complaint about the whole vehicle that would like really actually consider me not wanting to buy it as a daily driver is the noise. Yeah. And normally I'm not like a noise guy, but it's so loud from the roof. Yeah. It's like a Jeep Wrangler loudness. It's pretty crazy. Yeah. So, and that could just be this particular one. I actually don't remember it being that loud when I was on the press launch for it. So perhaps these panels aren't great. I know they've had a lot of problems with the panels. But yeah, overall, I think, let's just take a paint meter to the rest of the vehicle, do a quick scan, and then, no surprise, press vehicle. It's been gone through before it came to us. So GM knows we make these in-depth videos, of course, but like holy smokes, just everything. And this, we're just talking about body and interior fit and finish. If we start talking about chassis and suspension, which I'm going to do whole other videos on, beefy to the max, and just really an experience you cannot get anywhere else. And that's what I really like, unique automotive experiences, and there's nothing like this.
No, just the presence alone. When I pulled up to your house and saw this thing, I was just like, oh my gosh, look at that. It's just wild looking. Yep. But yeah, let's come up here and just quickly start looking over these paint readings again. So that's actually in microns there. 6.6. So very consistent still going around here.
And you'll see Coleton hit some of these edges because that's sometimes harder for the paint machine, the paint booth to get to.
Yeah, and kind of these contoured areas, the paint flows into there a little bit differently, so it can be quite interesting. I'll give you the reading here, 5.3. I really like to see, when I see cars like above 5, I'm a happy detailer. When you start getting into you start seeing a 3 in front of the number, you're like, yeah, I'd like to see a little bit more there.
And again, we're not sure what of this thickness is clear coat, paint, base layer, but in general, I would say General Motors have had a really long time to figure out how to paint vehicles. Yes. And they do a good job.
Definitely. So yeah, what this tool essentially does, from this metal tip to the actual metal on the body of the vehicle, it's measuring the thickness. So you have primer in there, you have base coats, you have all the different layers. So like my Model 3 over here is a pearl effect paint, multiple layers, has quite a bit of paint on it, but that doesn't necessarily mean you have all the clear coat. Your plaid back there is similar to here, where it's a solid color, no metallic in it. So it's really kind of important to take that into consideration, especially when you start buffing on these things.
And I actually don't know if you know this, but this is the only specification you can get a Hummer in.
White on black right now with same interior?
You cannot change anything.
Really?
Yeah, just accessories.
Really?
Yep. They all come with the same color, same interior. It's the Edition 1. They come one way, and it's the whole moon theme. When you put it in tow haul mode, it shows a rocket that you're pulling. It's like all space themed. It's like the Cybertruck, but cooler in my opinion. I mean, I don't know what the details will be, but if Cybertruck has this type of suspension, feeling, and craziness, it will just be next level. But I don't think Tesla would be crazy enough to do what GM did here. This takes, honestly, it takes a lot of balls to make a vehicle like this.
It really does. I mean, it's just crazy. Everything about it is crazy. Like, yeah, just on paper, you start looking at the size of the pack, the weight of it, and then you get in it, and it's just like, this is a wild experience.
Right, like it's losing charge plugged into your 50 amp outlet right
Probably.
there.
We're waiting for the lights to dim a little bit here. But yeah, as we keep going around here, this is looking really nice.
Very consistent.
Yeah, that 5.5 to 6 range is just awesome to see.
And you just saw anywhere, that's what you were seeing right in this area.
Ooh, actually right here on this back panel.
Into the 3s, but still not the end of the world.
Relatively low there on this
3.7.
Let's come over here on this side and just
It's possible it was buffed.
Yeah.
You know, that would fit with the story of these things.
I would agree. Totally would agree. Let's come over here on this side, and I'll flip this around. 6.2.
Yep.
And noticing a big old sanding mark right there.
Yeah, I see that from here, actually.
I think that'll be quite consistent on my dad's vehicle as well. Again, this is not necessarily comparing apples to apples.
Yeah, I don't know if I can get it on the camera.
Let me grab my light while we're doing that.
Yeah, and again, we're not sure what of this came from the factory. Oh yeah, I got it here. Sort of. It's right here.
Let me see if this will do any help here.
Let's see if I can. Yep, so just let me move around. There we go. Got it right there. Yep. And that's probably done on the line at the factory.
Yeah, I would say so. I do want to quickly look over this and see if I see any more. Now, scratches on here. This thing's a press vehicle. It's been just abused. I can see pinstriping down here from being taken off-road, but any sort of those sanding marks I do want to look at, especially up here on all this gloss black trim. I'll just kind of...
Yeah, the paint on this thing has taken a beating, hasn't it?
It has. Honestly, that looks surprisingly good up there, to be honest. Like, compared to R1S in this area, looks a lot better. There is a big old sanding mark right here. Let's see if you can see that up in this area.
Let's see. Oh yeah,
right
got it
there
right
on that edge.
Yep. Interesting.
Yeah, but honestly, like the paint looks pretty darn good. You don't see a ton of dust nibs. I don't see a ton of little sanding marks everywhere like we've been seeing with Rivian. Yeah, honestly, pretty darn impressed.
So overall, obviously we're not rating this. It's a press truck that's been gone through. We said it a million times. We'd love to see a customer vehicle over to you. I mean, the videos we've done with Rivians, you've really captured the Rivian audience. You have a whole bunch of Rivians coming in here straight from the factory, which is awesome.
Yep.
Perhaps maybe some Hummer EV owners in the Colorado area would bring their vehicle here. They don't need to come and get any services done unless they want to, but it's great to have customer vehicles to really analyze, build up a log, and then see how the fit and finish and body structure is on the vehicle. My eyes are like just, you know, looking at this thing as well, and I'm not really seeing anything major.
No.
There's some weird drivetrain stuff I want to talk about. Like, I think there's an issue with the rear wheel steering on this particular one. It functions as normal, it just makes some noises it shouldn't, but I think this one's also lived a pretty rough life.
Yeah.
I also have just been beating the crap out of it.
Yeah.
I've been either full crab walk or full send everywhere.
And I think that's hopefully how a lot of the Hummer EV owners are going to drive these things. I mean, they're just like the most ridiculous thing you ever see, and it's just get in and let's go.
So your impression then, just to finalize the video here of the Hummer EV, I'm going to move up while you explain your final thoughts here.
Yeah, to be honest, I'm actually pretty blown away. I kind of expected to see a lot of panel gap issues, not the most amount of paint, some kind of paint issues. The interior, I was like, I'd be curious to see what it is. I'm pretty blown away with it, to be honest. Everything feels very tight in it, but purposeful for that kind of rugged feel, especially on the inside. What are your impressions other than love it?
Yeah, just blown away. You know, I've been the one who said, you know, this thing is for Miami CrossFitters to, you know, get to their gym appointment in the morning with their gold chains and everything. But my impression is like, actually, I think it's for me.
Yeah.
Just like absolutely ridiculous. Burn all the electricity out of it. Just burn the tires. Everything's a consumable. I just love the ludicrousness. And, yeah, really, we'll always remember my week with the Hummer EV as a lasting impression. I just love that it's a super truck, and we're there. It's crazy.
Yeah,
and it's
really.
it's only 110 grand.
Yeah, at that, I think it's quite a bargain. I mean, comparing it to anything else, I mean, is there much that's really like this? R1T is somewhat in this range, but not really.
We're going to do that comparison,
Yeah.
but this thing smokes R1T for smiles.
Yeah, it does. It's pretty wild.
All right, cool. Well, thanks for watching another Out of Spec Detailing video. Colton, thanks for all the tour of this thing.
Absolutely.
That was fun. We'll see you on another one soon. Bye-bye.